Good evening and welcome to Affairs of the Heart. I'm your host, Bev Johnson. This evening we're going to talk about sizzling relationships. So I know you better get a pen and a piece of paper to write down some wonderful tips I know that our guest will be giving this evening. Our guest for the evening is author and publisher Joy Deja King, and let me say welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good, good. Now, tell us a little bit about Joy Deja King.
Well, I'm an author and I'm also a publisher. I've been writing now for about, I started in like 2004. It hasn't been that long. And basically what I did, I take like experiences that I had when I was working first in the industry, like the entertainment industry, and I kind of use real life and put my spin of fiction on it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
And your specialty is writing about relationships.
Yes.
And sizzling relationships.
Yes.
Now, before we talk about some of these sizzling relationships and your book,
yeah.
Why did you decide to go to that angle as a writer, writing about relationships?
Well, because I believe that relationships are the centerpiece of kind of life. Everything is based on relationships, whether at work, personal, whatever, just day-to-day interactions is all based on relationships. And so I felt that you also get more emotions from relationships. People become more attached to your characters through relationships. So I really wanted to find something where my readers could like clench their teeth into something and really like latch on and not want to let go. And to me, relationships was the most powerful way to do that. Now, you have written in this book that I have, Stacking Paper. Yes, that's actually part 2.
Part 2, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That was very excited about that book because Stacking Paper, that was a very huge success for me, and it was also, and this book actually comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
Is this your first book?
No, my first book is Dirty Little Secrets.
Dirty Little Secrets.
Yes, Dirty Little Secrets. It tells you all the dirty little secrets.
Now that sounds interesting. Dirty Little Secrets.
Of lots of relationships. Mm-hmm. And that was the first book that I've ever written, and it was actually loosely based on my own life experiences. I like to say loosely based because the character Tyler Blake is a complete nut. So I like to say, and she went through some very, very life-changing relationships, but it also helped her to develop and grow and reach a level of maturity that I think that a lot of women can relate to. I truly believe there's at least one thing in that book that every woman can relate to as far as relationships
And
goes.
Dirty Little Secrets.
Yes, Dirty Little Secrets.
That was the first.
Yes.
And then the second
was Hooker the Housewife, and both of those was with St. Martin's Press.
It was what? It was what?
Yes.
Hooker the Housewife.
Yes, Hooker the Housewife.
Okay, Hooker the Housewife.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And that's actually one of my favorite books because I actually came up with that concept from that book from a relationship of, I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and she was asking me why this particular mogul in the entertainment industry, he had this girlfriend, they had a child together, but he would never marry her. And so she was like, well, why won't he marry her? And I was like, because a man is not going to wife her. And she was like, oh my God, you have to write a book about that. And so I came with the concept of Hooker the Housewife because in my experience of being in the music industry, all the girls, all they wanted to do, their goals was to find sponsors that would legitimize them and take them out of a struggling situation and be, a housewife. And, they all said they were models / actresses. That was like the key term. But in all actuality, they were just, a step up from, being, a groupie of some sort. And that book really explores. I mean, it's very raw, and it tells you exactly how it is about the struggles that you go through trying to get with those men and like the hardships. And it's not pretty and it's not glamorous like you think. And, and that book really touches upon that. I absolutely love that book.
And so then the third book is?
It's Superstar.
Oh, Superstar.
Yes.
Girl, you've been writing.
Yeah.
Superstar.
Yes. Superstar kind of brings everything together, brings everything together from Dirty Little Secrets, Hooker the Housewife, and then the final is Superstar. I had to put those characters to rest. But yes.
So they're rest. Now, with
Stacking Paper and Stacking Paper 2, which is my new one. That's also about relationships. It touches more on the gritty street of relationships, and it's basically, you have a girl, Talisa, who's actually a good girl, comes from a really good family, educated, smart, but she falls in love with this man who is actually, is into illegal things. And he, and is kind of like you, but you feel for him because of his circumstances. And he eventually wants to get out of that life, do better, because he falls in love with her. But when the streets have a grip on you and you're into that legal lifestyle, it's very hard to push away from that. And so it explores the downfalls of when you fall in love like that, and those sort of relationships. Listening
to you now talk about your books and writing, and it seems though you're coming from experience. Oh, but looking at you, Joy, you don't look like you just a baby. What do you know about relationships? You look like a little baby.
I know. But you know what it is, honestly, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Okay.
All my friends are older than me. I love older people because they're so wise and they teach me so much. And I've always had an old soul, and I've been through so much from a very young age.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to, I've been through so many different. I mean, people would be so surprised. I'm lucky that I don't wear those scars on my, because a lot of times, when you go through a lot, you see young girls and you can see it all on their face. They're wearing those battle scars, And I've been so blessed I don't wear those battle scars. I actually write about them though, and it's kind of like a healing process.
It's a therapy for you.
Yes,
good.
Very much so a therapy.
Speaking of therapy, let's go, because you said something that intrigued my interest. You said my battle scars aren't showing. Did you grow up in a home where it was dysfunctional relationships? You didn't see a good, loving relationship, and that's what maybe from some of your battle scars? How did you grow up?
That's so interesting you say that. It's because at a very young age, my parents got a divorce, but my mother always wanted my sister and I to have a very nice house and go on vacations and, grow up and not want for anything. So she got remarried, and she married this man because he was able to provide, but there was really no, in my opinion, really a lot of love there. And it was very hard for me because of that. I grew up where I would see these relationships where a man was very controlling and dominating, but they were able to do that because of they were financially support the family, and it was very hard for me, and so it was very dysfunctional, and for a long time, they say that you choose men that are like your father or the person that you grew up with, and my father, I had to fight so hard because I couldn't stand him. My stepfather, I couldn't stand him. But as I grew up, I was always attracted to men, and I would always end up with men that were providers but were very controlling, abusive, and it takes, even today, I still have to fight against getting involved in those type of relationships because it's a dysfunction that it's like an addiction to like a drug or anything else, and I had to constantly, and it wasn't until I had my son that was a dysfunctional relationship that I said that I don't want my son to grow up and to see me in a relationship like that. And so I had to actually fight against that, and it's hard